2018, Kenya hosted the first Sustainable Blue Economy Conference that brought together more than 10,000 delegates from around the world to discuss this critical sector in the name of blue economy, as well as the maritime industry. A number of proposals were floated, among them being how to secure the maritime transport and how to make this sector sustainable going into the future. Where are we in terms of implementation? Joining us tonight on Inside Government is Mr. John Omingo. He's the Acting Managing Director, Kenya Maritime Authority. Thank you so very much indeed for your time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I know you were part of that meeting. You made a presentation on how to secure this critical industry and how to ensure that the blue economy, is handled in a sustainable manner. Almost 2.5 years down the line, when you look back at the commitments that were made then, do you think the world has lived through those promises?
Thank you, Brian, for the opportunity that you've accorded me to have a conversation on these issues. And I must say that it was the first time the global community were coming together to speak about the blue economy issues. And blue economy, like any other sector, has its contribution to the greenhouse gas effect, to the ozone layer. And as each sector strives to cut down their negative inputs, their waste into the space, the maritime sector is also striving very hard to do that. There are a lot of economic opportunities which are there. The conference generated so many recommendations and so many possibilities where a substantial amount of money was committed by various governments and the international bodies to address specific issues covering the blue economy. And so far from those recommendations, each and every government state had made their own commitments on what contributions they're going to take. We in Kenya, we also made our commitments on what initiatives we are going to take in terms of bringing the awareness on what the blue economy entails. Also in terms of updating our legislation framework so that it can be conducted in a way that is orderly and organized. And I can say the fact that the awareness was brought from those conversations, we now have specific initiatives which are being undertaken by the government in response to the desire that was expressed during the general desire of the Blue Economy Conference to have, particularly Africa has not had a very good share of their involvement in the blue economy space. And so then there were very specific commitments that we needed to do as a country in line with what the continent is also doing to bring about engagements with the blue economy. In terms of security, I can say the maritime sector is highly regulated, internationalized. So the security framework, normally driven by the conventions from International Maritime Organization, are normally to be implemented by the state in terms of the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. So we have been implementing this code very aggressively. We as Kenya Maritime Authority, we were set up to make sure that the security arrangements on board ships and in the port facilities are compliant with the requirements. So every 3 months we carry out the audit just to make sure that that one works up. That is now within our ports. Out there, we have a Maritime Search and Rescue Center that coordinates information on any security problems that may arise on board ships. And we transmit this information and are able to coordinate any effort that is to be taken to address any breach of security that may arise from piracy or any other source that normally comes. So I can say 2 years down the line, the awareness is there, the desire is there, the policy organs are recognizing the need to support the blue economy. They have seen there is money in it, and so then we anticipate to implement our strategic plan as Kenya Maritime Authority in terms of coordinating and regulating maritime affairs. And in that role, we'll be able to bring out several agencies to come together to explore and make use of the resources that water has for us, both at the ocean and also in the inland waters.
And one of the themes, that came out strongly out of that meeting was that, KMA, or Kenya Maritime Authority, as currently constituted, was not well capacitated, to help police and manage, the maritime sector in this country. And bearing in mind that, this is the other half of Kenya. I mean, there was a strong desire to increase the capacity of KME. There was a strong desire, to embolden KME in terms of legal framework, in terms of human and as well as technological resources. Have we embarked on this process?
Yes, Brian. Yes, we have. We have, it's a problem with the maritime sector in terms of the human resource capacities. We have explored as a country the other human resource areas in the other sectors, right from primary, secondary. We have several professions. But when it comes to maritime sector, we had not taken the earlier initiatives to put the necessary infrastructure for human resource development, so that today many people who are in the maritime sector, many of them are trained out of the country. We have not had good training institutions to support the human resource development in this particular sector. So in that regard, we as Kenya Maritime Authority, we took the initiative to take up the trainees, particularly on the safety, maritime safety issues, where we needed the marine engineers, we needed also the people who have studied nautical science, the pilots, to be able to do those port state inspections for the ships coming to the port, and also inspections and ensuring that our ships which are registered in our flag are complying with the international requirements. So we have done that. But more specifically, to address the challenges that we have had in terms of developing the human resource capacity, we came up with the curriculum development. We finished for the seafarers. We also finished for the land-based support services, the maritime transport logistics. And that was the first initiative that we ventured into, to make sure that we create a platform where the training institutions would be able to have the curriculum and have the necessary resource persons and the facilities to be able to provide training. So we created an accreditation framework. So we vet them, and then we make sure that the training comply with the international standards. For the seafarers, the standards of the STCW, the standard of training, certification, and watchkeeping, as provided by IMO. And again, you don't just train; you have to be allowed to train by IMO. In which case, you need to put the regulatory framework, the vetting framework, and quality of the training, and it is checked by IMO to make sure that you comply. If you comply, then you'll be put in what they are calling a white list. So if you are whitelisted the country, you'll be able to train people who work on board the ships, and Kenya is one of them.
John, I mean, you have quite an extensive knowledge and engagement within the maritime industry. I mean, having worked with, Kenya Ports Authority.
Yes.
And with about 26 years, of combined experience in this industry, and you have trained in different countries. You have been to Sweden, you have been to Netherlands. When you look at this industry here in Kenya, are you convinced that, number one, we are putting the necessary infrastructure in place to springboard this industry into the future? And number two, in your own opinion, in your own qualified and professional opinion, what do you think should be done in a bid to help grow the potential of this industry?
Like many institutions, when there is a system of identifying what is it that we need, and you are able to embark on that, and then you have the legislative framework to support, plus the necessary human resource that will come in to drive that agenda, definitely you're going to succeed. And like in many sectors, the policy support is very critical. We are in a sector where engagement has been diversified. We have each agency with its own way of working, and there's no integration of the various engagements with the maritime sector. So when you talk of the blue economy, it has got several clusters which are domiciled in different state departments and under different ministries. Now to bring these ones together to be able to look at one goal as a team, because each of a cluster within the maritime sector, there is a synergy that comes. So if you have a very coherent approach within what we are calling the integrated maritime policy framework, then it is much easier to find out where are we, where do you want to go, and how best can we be able to do it. So we as Kenya Maritime Authority, we stand a good chance that in our role as coordinator of the maritime affairs, it is possible to bring this element of integrated approach to activities within the maritime sector in terms of the security, in terms of safety, and even the engagement with the use of the resources which are there. It is possible to have a common platform where we speak with one voice and we coordinate our activities. And that is the kind of success that has been seen in those countries that are now qualified as maritime nations.
And when you look at the legal framework, that governs this industry, the Maritime Act of 2012, are you convinced that it is high time we embark on a serious consolidation of maritime activities, under one umbrella?
It will help in terms of identifying and mobilizing the resources to address specific, very clear areas that will give us some outcome. That will help. I can mention our brothers in South Africa through Operation Bakisha. They had the industries, they had the academia, and they had the existing government agencies working on a common document, and they were able to find how then can they be able to be more effective in addressing the issues other than the scattered approach that we have had for a very long time. So in my view, that approach will be very useful, because many a times when we have several agencies working independently, to bring them together to look at issue in a common way becomes very difficult, because I'm there to protect my dog. And even in terms of planning the engagement within the maritime sector, there ought to be what we are calling the spatial planning, because activities are bound to conflict if you don't plan them very well. And again, not necessarily conflicting out of no planning, but the fact that the others don't understand the needs for the others, and that brings some disharmony. Because my need is not necessarily, it may be counterproductive to what you do. But if you begin to understand and demarcate how we operate within a common platform and one policy that guides all the activities within the blue economy space, I think we can make some headway in terms of generating some recognizable benefit from the maritime sector. That will really help. Yes.
There has been some arguments that, the compartmentalization of the issues or maritime affairs can be traced to the so-called cartels in this country. Do you buy that narrative?
It depends. When you look at the blue economy, for us, we are just scratching the surface. We have not engaged seriously. Because even when it comes to shipping, we don't own ships. Most of our transportation services are provided by the foreign shipping lines. When it comes to fishing, we don't have vessels that can do serious fishing.
We have trawlers.
We have trawlers. When it comes to exploring the minerals, we have nobody who is out there looking for the manganese nodules in the waters. We have nobody there looking for the oil. So, to us, the issue of cartel, if there was to be a cartel, then perhaps maybe in what? Which cluster can you talk of as Kenya actively involved? We can mention tourism, but tourism is a very open and a very competitive area. If you come to transport, clearing and forwarding is just an auxiliary support to the mainstream shipping, because shipping is that the big thing. That's where we are paying almost $3 billion every year
to foreign ships,
to foreign shipping lines, and that is where we need to initiate certain strategies on how then we get engaged. Even before we talk of cartel, first begin to go there. Once you are inside there, then you can talk of being actively involved in the blue economy. But here we're just scratching on this.
Do you think there are some quarters that benefit from these, state of disarray in terms of, different entities, handling different functions within the maritime industry? Do you think they are beneficiaries?
No, the challenge is that it will, to harmonize the already established structures of managing, which are put in several other ministries, to really harmonize and bring them in harmony and have an integrated policy framework to address them needs a lot of courage.
Do you believe
Yes.
KMA in its current form,
Yes.
has that courage that you're talking about, has those kind of teeth, that will be required to bring about this change?
It is not about even breaking, it's about creating a platform where we can all speak. Because even in their own frame of engagement, they have very specific, very highly specialized engagement with the blue economy. But if you can have a platform where we all talk to each other and find how we can harmonize, how we engage with the blue economy, and we have a framework that allows us to move. It's just like motor vehicles. There are traffic rules. That's why they don't knock on each other unless the driver had one too many somewhere, or there's a problem, or maybe tiredness. But there are rules that guide the operations of things, the way they operate as human beings. Now, that harmony, that coordination element of bringing the parties together to speak up on what is it that they do, and how can we align this to a common approach within that integrated framework. That's what will help. We as the Kenya Maritime Authority, in our role as coordinator of this, we have a lot of support from various agencies. Even whenever we engage them, even the counties, we have engaged the counties to help them identify what are the blue economy areas and how do we bring them together, both in the Lake Region Economic Bloc and the block for the coastal region.
When the president, set up that presidential task force, on maritime industry,
Yes.
That was a sign that there is political goodwill, from the highest office, to try and set of things, to try and straighten some few bended corners. The team made its recommendations, which are far-reaching and which are deep, and which will have, what we call deep ramifications, when they are implemented in their entirety. But the question is there political goodwill to walk the talk?
Yeah, I can say there is. There's a lot of things which are happening, which again we need to speak out very strongly, and there are positive things, like the issue of engagement with the blue economy. They are human beings, and the human beings have to know what goes on there for them to be productive. And so then to have come boldly and set up Bandari Maritime Academy as a center of excellence with all the support that comes from the government and also from us, and in terms of ensuring that the quality of training is right, and that's a major boost, because before you even touch it, to get money out of it, you must know what you're touching. And that as a priority is something that we really applaud the government for coming out strongly, because you need to train people. That's when they can be able to engage with the sector. And when, even in terms of the support that we get as KMA, we get a lot of support from the government. So we have just reviewed our strategic plan, and is looking into, we borrowed a lot from those recommendations from the first inaugural conference, the one we did, but also the Global Sustainable Blue Economy Conference, in terms of what kind of engagements we need to put in place. Yes.
You see, but when you look at KMA, an institution that was set up in 2004, it lacks in very many aspects, in terms of capacity to police this sector. Number one, there is not enough, human personnel, and qualified human personnel. And you are talking about, people like marine engineers. I mean, even as a country, we don't have enough. You're talking about, equipment, the necessary equipment, to help police our maritime sector. We do not have, vessels, that can venture into the deep seas, and report what exactly is happening. We do not have, enough capacity, to monitor, our coastlines, our special economic zone, which is almost 250,000 square kilometers. And this is the work of Kenya Maritime Authority. So how do we upscale this capacity to ensure that KMA, is well facilitated to handle its mandate effectively?
Well, in terms of the actual policing, we appreciate the fact that the government set up the Kenya Coast Guard services, which we work together. We work together in terms of addressing the issues that has to do with the policy in our waters. And we have from the time that KMA was set up, we took the bold initiative to recruit trainees, the workers who are trainees, and we took them to several training institutions to become marine engineers and pilots. Close to 16 of them, spread in different colleges all over the world. And we have had about 3 or 4 of them finishing so far, and others are still on training. So we are building that resource capacity. We've also we witnessed when we asked for when we conducted some interviews, we needed a manager for Maritime Search and Rescue Center. And we had the Kenyans who had already finished their master mariners who came in, and they are willing to join us, in addition to the one that we took in to train. Through the initiative that we had undertaken earlier, the Jomo Kenyatta University of Technology, the agriculture and technology, they took the bold initiative to start marine engineering training programs. And despite the challenges that these trainees have with sea time engagement, because to qualify you have to go to sea and get that sea time experience. They have the capacity to produce close to 40, 50, I'm not sure of the number, at the end of the year. I mean, the ones who are graduating after the 5-year program for the marine engineers, and so then they are liaising with some university in, I think, in South Korea to give the students some sea time training. And our focus will be then, how do we engage the shipping lines to be able to give us slots for these people. Even for hours, it's difficult to get the training slots for them to gain the sea time experience. But we thank the shipping fraternity for responding positively. A number of them have taken some of our students who are employees of KMA on training, and they are training. We entered into some memorandum of understanding with the World Maritime University. They are bringing to us some experts through our parent ministry, the State Department of Shipping and the Maritime. They're bringing some experts. We'll be sitting together with them, I think, in the course of next month or so, just very soon, just to clean up some of the drafts that we had already developed, so that we can have the regulatory framework properly sorted out.
And also something else, sorry for stepping on issues.
Yes.
Something else that we have seen is that, there has been a rising number of people being abandoned, in foreign lands by ship owners, and this has been made worse, by the coronavirus. So as an institution, how do you plan to deal with this?
That issue of abandonment comes when some seafarers, they don't use the licensed recruitment agencies. Somebody whispers to them that there is a vacancy in a ship, and they go to the Panya routes. Now, what we have done is to have properly licensed ship recruitment agencies. That would be, if you're recruited, you go by certain decorum and standards of disengagement or engagement. And we also check the contracts. Where there is likely to be a problem, we address it before the person goes on board. So we encourage Kenyan seafarers, the ones who get jobs on board ships, don't just go through Panya routes, go through licensed recruitment agents that we have licensed. And we make sure that they comply with those standards. And shipping, like any other business, they also have their own challenges. But it would be very bad for those. We need the cooperation of the employees. And whenever there is a problem, we address the shipping, the flag state where the ship is registered. They have to be very, very careful in terms of putting the necessary checks and balances, which IMO also recommends to address the issue of seafarers. Yes.
And also the issue of pollution. I mean, you just need to go to counties that are next to our water, and you see the level of pollution that goes on. You just need to go to Malindi. There is no proper sewerage system. You talk about Mombasa here, which is a big city. There is no proper sewerage here. You go to Kisumu, it's the same thing. All the affluent, is drained into these waters. Yet, KMA is aware of this. How do you plan to deal with this challenge?
This is where I talked about this integrated approach, where the issues of managing pollution, because we have several agencies who are also involved with the pollution matters.
It lies with the NEMA.
NEMA and the municipals, and also we as the ones dealing with the pollution from ships, we are also there. But when we bring into awareness, it's a matter of also culture or upbringing of the people who interact with the waters. There are places where you don't just throw plastic anyhow, it is done. This awareness needs to be brought to a lot of people. And even in terms of the factories and the counties have to be sensitized, because for a long time, even the sea, anything, it was seen as something that can take anything. But even sea has got its limits. It can't take it anymore. So to this aspect, there are the specific groups that are bringing awareness. We support them in terms of cleaning the beaches. We engage with the counties in terms of what must they do. But that is a major, that is some area that need to be addressed very seriously, particularly the issue of sewage and how to
and who is going to address these, honestly?
But there are specific institutions like us. We can bring the awareness to the counties to begin taking some initiatives. The fisheries who do the research and they know the consequences, they need to make these research findings to the public.
Because we have to wind up. Tell me this. Where are we in terms of the implementation of the maritime single window system? I know it is being handled by a different agency, that is Kentrade.
Yeah.
But it is you who is expected to ensure that it is in place.
No,
where are we?
Because there is maritime single window, but it's also the national single window for the platform of clearing goods.
Clearing and forwarding of
clearing and forwarding goods and custom processes. That one we also look forward, because we developed this Mombasa Port Community Charter to bring out the key performance indicators of the various agencies and find out how long do they take in handling their processes through the single window platform. And so then we'll be able to generate timestamps from their interactions. And we compare with what they have agreed upon as their targets of the various key performance indicators. We expect this data to be coming to us, and we're developing a platform to receive that data, so that when there is a weakness within the entire chain of clearing and forwarding, you are able to zero in and address that particular agency. Because now it is port receives the bulk of the blame when there is a delay.
Very well.
And when there's a delay, the consumers do suffer from that process, in the sense that nobody is held accountable. Your cargo is detained for a process which could not be completed, but then the shipping line will come and charge you demurrage because it is you who is responsible.
And that demurrage fee is charged onto the consumer.
On the consumer. So if you can create that accountability framework, it will be easier now to pick out some of the weaknesses and address it with the various agencies.
Good.
Yes,
Let's hope that all these will be addressed in the shortest time possible.
It will.
For the benefit of this nation. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you, Brian, and it's a pleasure to have received you. We're sorry we don't have lunch, but these days even lunch is virtual.
Issue of lunch can always be debated.
Yes.
Otherwise, Asante Sana.
Asante Sana.
Well, John Omingo is the acting Director General of Kenya Maritime Authority, joining us on Inside Government tonight, to help us understand, what are they doing in terms of coordination and regulation of maritime affairs in this country. You've heard it from him for the last 30 minutes or so. We have been here. My name is O'Brien Kimani in Mombasa. Thank you very much for your time. We'll see you on the other.